Good morning, everyone. We will be discussing today the cloud triangles, or how to approach an externalization strategy. First off, I'd like to introduce OVH. We're not really well known in North America, but we have a strong presence in Europe. We're the #1 web hosting provider, #3 in the world. Last year, we have a gross sale, $273 million. We've built and operate 14 data centers, one of them being in North America that was launched last year. The position of our cloud offer. If we look at Gartner for last year, they position us as a niche player. We're really happy with that market space. Our cloud offer is an infrastructure as a service, but it's really different from what is normally seen. We have an entirely private and dedicated offer, so the hardware is never shared between tenants. Also, everything is provisioned on demand in minutes, and every component is fully highly available. Our technology, well, we're using a lot of in-house automation that allows us to provision these hardware nodes within minutes. We're also using proprietary storage that allows us to do things that will not be normally available in commercial off-the-shelf shared storage offering. And, well, we're definitely a VMware shop inside and out. We're using this for our internal product as well as for offers made to our customer. But enough about us, we'll talk about the cloud. This is really how every provider out there would like to sell you the cloud. Something amazing, something that you absolutely, somewhere that you absolutely need to go with a lot of benefits. The actual cloud benefits are to provide elasticity to the business, provide agility to the business, allow to better control costs by aligning the spending to the workload. Basically, help you manage your bottom line. But for C-level executive, it is often what the cloud looks like. There are a few hidden things. What are the SLAs like? How will the performance be? Where will be my data? How is it secure? So what we'll be doing today is building a bridge. We'll review the different technology present in the market and help decision maker make sense of everything that's out there. The cloud today is used at every sauce. You can have applications that are cloud. You can have multiple things that are called cloud, but the technology behind all these offers is quite different, and the application of these technology is different as well. So that's what we'll be doing today. The first thing to view is the service model. Service model is ranked on two axes: the amount of IT involvement on a vertical scale, as well as the control from the organization on the vertical scale. The first one at the top is software as a service. Then you have platform as a service, which is mainly catered to developers, as well as down at the bottom, the infrastructure as a service. We'll go into each of them in more details. On the software as a service side, what it is really, it's the ability of a customer to run an application that is hosted and owned by a service provider. Well, that is a great technology. The speed of deployment from a software as a service is amazing. There is absolutely little to no IT requirement. A good project manager, a business analyst, as well as a vendor manager can lead the deployment of such solution. But there are a few things that need to be kept in mind. What is the sustainability of the offer? What is the roadmap of the provider? If you decide to move a workload from your existing system into a software as a service application, will you be able to do what your business needs to do now and within the next 5 years? Another thing to keep in mind is the reversibility. Can I take my data out and can I use that data in any other ways? And the last one, and the most critical, or one of the key, is performance management. Providers will give you a service level agreement, but what about performance? Is that covered? What will happen when your user mentions that the application is slow? How will you address that? That is something to keep in mind. Then we go down and go with platform as a service. Platform as a service, it's basically the software as a service for developer. It provides a runtime environment living in the provider's infrastructure, already pre-configured. It gives a bit more flexibility because you can actually manage the amount of resource your application gets. But you still have to keep in mind that the application often require some customization in order to run efficiently on a platform as a service or within a platform as a service provider's environment. So again, reversibility is something that you need to keep in mind, and you also need to assess if your application can run within that type of environment. And the last one is the infrastructure as a service. It is basically resource, network, storage, and compute provided within the provider's environment. This is the most flexible deployment type. You can run arbitrary workload in that environment. You can actually take what you're using today and move it straight to the cloud. Obviously, that type of flexibility comes at the cost of requiring additional IT management. Now, we also have to keep in mind the type of cloud deployment. There are 3 types out there. They can also be used with the service model we've reviewed before. The private being what lives within your enterprise. Dedicated would be what lives at a provider's within a provider's environment, and public would be a shared environment where you can run workload. So into the private deployment, it is really IT as a service. It is not really cloud per se, because the initial benefit of the cloud, the burstability, the agility, the elasticity, the ability to move from a CapEx model to an OpEx model are not necessarily seen as much with a private cloud deployment. It is definitely something that can improve the business, that can provide value to the business, but it does not fit the bill of the huge cloud promise. There's also the public deployment. Well, I'll break out for a little story. I was flying from Montreal to New York about 2 months ago. And 15 minutes before boarding, they started to call in on the PA system and looking for volunteers to take the next flight. So this flight was oversold. Half an hour after the takeoff time, they were still calling on the PA system and offering people to take the next flight because nobody would budge. So they would increase the incentive over and over until one of the fellow passenger managed to leave with a full refund and about $500 of compensation. That was very nice. Now, if that plane has been a public cloud deployment, everybody would have been crammed into the plane. Everybody would have been squished together, and only half of the passenger would have received a drink or a meal. Is there a solution? Yes, there is. Private jets are amazing. This is actually what a dedicated deployment will be. In a public cloud deployment, you have a set pool of resource that is shared between many customers. And it's up to the provider to manage the workload and to manage the distribution of these resources between the different tenants. The dedicated cloud assigns a fixed pool of hardware resource to a particular customer and provide the tool to that customer to manage efficiently the workload. So they will have full control on how their virtual machines and their different environment or their department get CPU power without compromising the ability of scaling up and down within a very short amount of time. Obviously, in the it requires more involvement from IT because you will need to do some performance tuning and you will need to efficiently manage that workload. Last but not least, there is the hybrid cloud deployment. This is for those who want it all. It is perfectly possible to use all these service model as well as all these service deployment type to build an infrastructure. You have to ensure that you find a provider that can support workload migration from one environment to the other, and you have to find a provider that is able to to support that type of migration. Thank you, everyone.